Another question that you ask yourself when you are when you're getting better and larger in trading is certain materials, you see them spike, you see yourself making money with them, and then you ask yourself, but what are those materials used for, right? And actually in other games this is very, very easy. You know, in other games you have a wiki, and then you go there and you say, this item is used in this blueprint or whatever. In Eve you can do that as well, but it's much more complicated, and until you don't intimately understand the various item categories, you're really not really ever going to get there, right? The very easy way, or one easy way of doing that, for example, is I told you guys earlier, you know, you have an item like Elite Drone AI, you click on the eye, on the information button, you click on the industry tab right here, and you see all of the blueprints that are in there. That's very easy for the Elite Drone AI to do, because it's just not used in a lot of items, and this is very easy to understand. So basically all badass drones, they have Elite Drone AI in it, which is also quite logical because it's Elite Drone AI, right? Now it gets very complicated though, because if you say, okay, I want to do the same with Morphight, right? You click on the eye and you end up with a list that is just insanely long, because it's basically most tier 2 items and some others. This just basic minerals are in everything, right? And so here, basically you don't know which of these items are relevant. So if you see the price of Morphight spike, then how are you going to know what else is going to spike? How are you going to know what impact is that going to have on the market, right? And I was very amazed that Adam for Eve has a very, very good tool that does exactly that. Okay, so if we go back to Adam for Eve, and we go to let's say industry right here, there's an industry tab, and there's something called material influence. Now I don't know if a lot of you guys use this, but it's quite amazing, and I want you guys to know that this is out there. Material influence looks at basically all of the items that are out there, and you can select an item, let's say Elite Drone AI, and what it will do is, these are exactly the items that I just showed you in game, except it has some additional information. For one, it has quantity, so how many Elite Drone AI go into what. And so when I was talking earlier about excavator drones and the connection between Elite Drone AI and excavator drones, this is what I'm talking about, right? The vast majority of Elite Drone AI used to end up in excavator drones because they just use so damn many, right? Back here you can see the total cost. So you can see that the excavator drones are by far the most expensive items that uses Elite Drone AI. Gecko are also expensive, but they only use 2 of them. So this is for the geckos. It's the BPC price that that actually makes up most of the cost. So the first column is quantity. The second one is sell, and the third one is buy. And these are also interesting because this is the actual material influence. So if you look at an augmented hobgoblin drone, right? That's a hobgoblin on steroids. You can see that it uses 1 Elite Drone AI, and the Elite Drone AI costs about $1 million. So you can see that the actual influence of the Elite Drone AI price on the final price of that item is 66%, right? So for every ISK, or let's say for every 100,000 ISK that Elite Drone AI goes up, you would expect at least a 60,000 increase on augmented hobgoblins if that is passed through from the producer to the end consumer, right? And so that might seem like something small, but this tool is incredibly powerful because of that. Because not only can you go in here and see, okay, what is this item used for, but you can also see how big is the impact of this item on everything else, right? And if we use the example of earlier, you can look at Morphite, right? You can look at Morphite and again sort by quantity, and here you can see that you know, we have some capital modules here. We have jump freighters here, where jump freighters is interesting because jump freighters did your keyboard run out of apples? Yeah. For jump freighters, it uses a lot of Morphite, but jump freighters use so much other stuff that it really only makes up 1% of the total price, right? Which makes a lot of sense. If you're looking at 25,000 millimeter steel plate 2s, right? They use a lot of Morphite, and there Morphite makes a big difference on that item, right? If you sort this by percentage, you can see that, for example, in Entosis Link 2, basically Entosis Link 2 relies completely, right? Completely on the price of Morphite. So if you put them next to each other, that is exactly what's going to come out. There's something interesting that you can do with that, because you can go to things like 0-point field manipulator, right? This is a drop from abyssal mobs, abyssal Triglavians, and you know, you make things like the Ikitursa or the Nurgle, right? Tier 2 abyssal ships from it. And you can see that the 0-point field manipulator, it actually makes up between 70 and 80% of the total price of a Draugr, a Nurgle, a Zarm, and an Ikitursa, right? So this is huge. This is huge. And so you don't even need to look at the other components. You basically only need to look at 0-point field manipulator, and you understand the direction where the prices of these ships are going. So, you know, I can really encourage you to play around with the stuff. This is just hidden somewhere. It's an industry, it's material influence, but it's super powerful. Especially if you're new to trading, you're new to industry, and you don't know what things do, then just type in items, see what they do. We recently, you know, this week I told you we had a buyout of robotics, and if you're wondering, no, robotics, they go on everything. And you really want to know, well, what are the big things that use robotics, right? Then you quickly end up in large weapon systems. You end up in structure modules, right? You end up in ice harvesting drones. So here you can see where all your robotics are going, and if you want to know what are the items where robotics have the biggest impact, then for example, ice harvesting drones, right? 60% of ice harvesting drones are made up of robotics, right? Look at salvage drone 2. A salvage drone 2 should basically follow the robotics price, right? It's a 50% dependency. And so, you know, you can even look at what are the most expensive items that use it. Capital armor repair, like, it uses a lot, and it's an 18% price influence. You can then click on the item and see whether this is actually traded or not, because that's the only component that is not using yet. So Ethan from Adam for Eve, if you're listening to me here, right? Can we have one more column? I would like one more column that says total forge market volume. If we had that, then this would be hands down the solving it all tool, right? Because I would spend all day on this, just clicking through here and looking for items that are spiking and looking for their dependencies to spike as well. So I just love this tool. Very, very cool. We can we can look here, see, because yeah, the traded volume is just so low on these that here you're not going to be making any money on a robotics bike. Okay, let me see. Pretorius